TJ the Wheel Joe coming at you live with Tevis from the Fundamentals of Investing. How's it going, Tevis?
Hey, buddy. I actually just woke up like 30 minutes ago. TJ woke me up with the text. He's like, let's go live in 30 minutes.
Sent you that text, and I'm like, dude, this fool's like legit barely waking up. Anyway, we're going to do some portfolio updates. I do have some updates since the last time we were on together on the Wheelers.
Yeah.
Got another position in the portfolio, and I've closed out a couple of them since. What's going on your end? Talk to me. Like, how everything pretty status quo, or are you just kind of floating along the butterfly? Like, where are you at?
Pretty good. I did some mostly cash secured puts again for me because that's just where the bulk of my flexibility is. And we had 2 red days yesterday and Monday, so those have been working out well. Here, I'll walk you through what I have on right now.
Sure.
So I have covered calls on TSLL and on Tesla. So I have 25s for TSLL, and it's currently trading for 22. And then I have 385 for Tesla, and it's at 350-ish. And then I have a whole bunch of cash secured puts. So Monday, I closed my Tesla cash secured put that I opened last week. So I closed that. It was like 95% profit. Close that out. And then I have cash secured puts on Rocket Lab at 22, on HIMS at 28, on Lemonade at 43 and at 41, on Marathon at 22, and on CleanSpark at 12. So
you're cash secured put premium drunk forward lucky right now is where you're at.
Yeah, well, so the ones that I'm closest to getting hit, everything's like double digit away, but the ones that I'm closest is Rocket Lab. It's about 6%, but it's bouncing back today. It was getting really close yesterday.
Yeah.
And then the other one is Lemonade. I'm getting close to getting hit on like my first tranche at 43. But dude, I wrote the 41s and they gave me better premium than the 43s gave me. So it was just like too good not to write. But I still have a couple of rounds left. If I want to, do something else, I might do more marathons today, or maybe even CleanSpark, honestly, because it's down. But we'll see.
I hear you. Well, I have been messing around on my end. Messed around and got a triple double. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you know anything about Ice Cube, and today was I'm just testing your street cred here because you're from Canada, so I got to test you. I don't know if Ice Cube made it all the way to Canada.
We get Ice Cube here, dude.
So I've been messing around a little bit with Microstrategy. That's new in the portfolio. I have been a critic of Microstrategy a little bit, and Michael Saylor from the standpoint of how do they make money, right? They dilute, they do this convertible bond thing. It's like hocus pocus, abracadabra. And then boom, we're going to go buy Bitcoin way the hell up here at $95,000 a token. And I'm like, well, that doesn't really feel like value investing. And, I'm just looking at it. It's real hard for me to get excited about buying anything at the top because believe it or not, I'm a bargain hunter in the stock market. A lot of shit that I deal with, it's because nobody else wants it at those levels.
It's interesting, man, because I did cash secured puts on Microstrategy last week, and my friends were like, dude, you're crazy. You're chasing premium, this and that. And I was like, look, man, if I get assigned on Microstrategy, I'm fundamentally bullish on Bitcoin, and I think it's going to cross that 100,000 threshold. So I do think that Microstrategy is going to go up over the immediate short term. And they were saying, well, it's levered up to the gills. Like, it's going to be super dangerous because of the leverage. And then at the same time, when CleanSpark reported earnings, Monday after the bell, I was disappointed that they didn't announce the convertible bond offering to essentially, force themselves to not dilute until 2030. Whereas Marathon is doing it consistently. They just did it again, I think, yesterday. So it's sort of a double-edged sword with Microstrategy. It's like, well, the fact that they're levered makes them dangerous, but it also like gives them a certain sense of like boost in the short term against miners that aren't doing the same thing.
Agreed. So I just learned a little bit more about it. I watched a video that Chris Patel sent me, and then I started listening to things like infinite money glitch is new terminology. That's like the new transitory. You know how like there's little words that people are phrases that catch on in the investing world. So a couple of years ago it was transitory. Uh, with SoFi, it was a transitional year, way too close for comfort for me on transitory. Like if there's anything that Noto's ever said that pissed me off, it was when he said it was a transitional year. I
Yeah.
was like, bro, you're sounding way too much like the fucking Fed right now. Please stop it. You know what I mean? So now the one that's kind of been catching on is the infinite money glitch. I'm sure you've been
Yeah.
listening to it and hearing about it
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah. Which is also like it's good if Bitcoin keeps going up, but it's not going to be a straight line. So
No, for sure. But I do think that there's something here from the standpoint of if you're like legit bullish on Bitcoin,
mhm.
and if you think it's going up and to the right and you have a long enough time horizon, it's not really going to matter if you bought them at 70,000 or 95,000 or 99,000. You're just trying to accumulate as much as you can because at the end of the day, it is a limited supply, right?
Mhm.
So there's that concept. So I was like, okay, well, maybe there's something there that I don't fully understand, but I think that I can make money here at the end of the day, right? Because we're here to make money. I sell puts, I sell calls, I collect premium, and I roll when it makes dollars and cents. And I asked myself a very simple question. I was like, can I make money here?
Mhm.
Can I make money here? And the answer that I came up with was yes. So I sold 2 rounds of cash secured puts now over here on November the 22nd. I sold 5 cash secured puts at 250, and it was for about 40 days or whatever, right? I did it on 11/22 for 12/27. So 35-day trade, and they were paying $10,874. Dude, I thought that was a pretty crazy return. And I was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna take advantage of some of that IV. And then I closed those out yesterday for 20 or today for 26.50. So I locked in a win, whatever that is, about 8 grand or so. And then I also sold more cash secured puts a couple of days ago. So an 18-day trade this time. And I did them at 275 a little more aggressively. And I picked up 47.50. And I've still got that trade on here. And it's up about 30%, as you guys can see there. So I'm like, so the way that I look at these things, and I don't really ever talk about this on the channel, so I want to give you all more like Wheeler Seminar 2.0 going on now stuff, like sneak peek, because I'm working on the slides for the new seminar, like the advanced version. Like you guys already got through all the boring shit. Now let's really talk about making money. Uh, the very first question that I ask myself when I enter into a new ticker, Tebas, is can I make money right here?
Yeah.
And then the follow-up question is how much money would I like to make? How much am I willing to risk? What does the risk reward graph look like for me? Forget about what the cash secured put says, because it gives you a risk reward graph, right?
Right.
Forget about that. Like, how much am I willing to risk? How much capital am I willing to put up? And how much money am I okay losing? And how much am I trying to make? So I tried to create that risk reward graph in my mind. And I came up initially with just a $25,000 bill on Microstrategy. I was like, I want to learn a little bit about the company. So I want to invest and then I want to investigate, right? The Stanley Druckenmiller, the whole, that's his deal.
Mhm.
But I want to make 25 grand on MicroStrategy. How could I go about doing it and feeling kind of safe, all the while learning? In other words, I wanted to get paid to research the company a little bit and what exactly it is that they're doing. And I'm willing to maybe watch 5 to 10 interviews of Michael Saylor, listen to a couple of earnings calls, because I feel like they're going to pay me 25,000 for that. I've realized about a third of it right now. You follow me?
Right. Yeah.
So that was my thesis in a nutshell. And I'm like, and if it gets good, then I'm going to up the ante and I'm going to want to figure out how can I make $100,000 off of this ticker. And I'm
Yeah.
not going to know, I'm not trying to know the most about MicroStrategy. I'm just like, can I make money with this fucking ticker? What's my entry point look like? What's my exit point look like? What strategy am I looking to use? And the only thing that I landed on, Tebis, was I'm comfortable selling cash secured puts on MicroStrategy, but I am going to roll, brother, unless shit really goes south. Like I'm
Yeah.
gonna roll right until I'm right. I don't want to own any shares of MicroStrategy because I don't understand it enough. Like I'm way more comfortable with Riot and even Marathon that I recently added to the portfolio because I know how they make money or they're trying to make money. Whereas I don't really understand how MicroStrategy is still trying to make money yet. I know they're doing the convertible bonds and all that other stuff. That's great, but I'm just saying, like, cool, but you're never going to sell Bitcoin. So just riddle me this: how do you make money?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's a very Mr. Wonderful Shark Tank thing. How do you make money? I'm going to give you money. These are little soldiers, and they're supposed to come and bring me more soldiers. And I still haven't figured out that part of the equation. So the only thing I'm willing to do is sell cash secure puts. What are your thoughts on MicroStrategy? How comfortable are you with it?
I have the same concerns, man, because it is a little bit Ponzi-ish in
A
terms of
little.
like, hey, how do you make money? Well, I'm not going to sell my Bitcoin.
Right.
So I'm going to raise more money and then give this guy's money to you to pay off my debt here. And then, wheels keep on turning. But at the same time, it's just, it's wild, right? Because they own what, like 2%, 2.5% of the total supply, like
Yeah.
something insane. I actually did the math on a tweet that I put out a couple days ago. Because they own like 440,000, something like that, Bitcoin.
Yes.
So I was actually having this conversation with Matt last night, where we were saying, well, the yield that you would get with regards to anything related to Bitcoin, whether it's BitX or MicroStrategy or the miners, is so much higher than yield you would get for any other like ETF or index or whatnot.
Yeah.
And so it gives you a lot of flexibility, right? Because like for MicroStrategy, like I'm looking at it for end of December, and like you have a couple of percentage points right there, just premium. But this thing fluctuates so wildly that if you wanted to, you could close this 50% profit, on just any random day and
Yeah.
call it, and you could still get a better return than you could get on many other names in the market because of how volatile it is.
Yeah. So let me address this real quickly because this is funny, right? Before I could afford to buy like a bunch of Ralph Lauren clothes, I used to have a Ducati Monster, and it was a Ralph Lauren edition. I swear to God. So I've gone as far as having the freaking polo motorcycle, bro. I've been wearing this shit since I was a kid. I have no idea how it happened. I like horses. So it was one of those things that the little horse was there, and I was like, that makes sense. I got a horse at the ranch, you know what I mean? And I started rocking with it. But anyway, how funny. Yeah, bro, I just don't understand that part of the riddle. Is like, cool, you're not actually going to ever sell the Bitcoin, and if the software, because MicroStrategy did some sort of software thing that people don't talk about anymore, like they have another way that they make money. Like again, it's like, how do you make money? That's my whole question.
That's
Is how,
also all the miners too.
yeah,
It's the exact same thing, right? The miners are not selling the Bitcoin either. And so it's like, well, they make money in the same way. They dilute.
yeah, yeah. They raise money.
Pretty
They
much.
Yeah, they raise money by diluting. Now, Riot has utilized a hybrid approach before, where they sell a portion and keep a portion. But this whole year, and Jason told me, I didn't even know because I don't follow the numbers as closely because I haven't like really started the Riot weekly or biweekly thing yet, right?
Mhm,
But this year, he said that they haven't sold any Bitcoin. So I went and I looked, and sure enough, Riot has not sold any Bitcoin this year.
mhm. I
But
think none of the top 3 miners have sold really Bitcoin this year, which
yeah,
is like, I get it because the first one to blink in that stare down
yeah,
loses, right? If CleanSpark comes out and they're like, hey, we're selling some Bitcoin just to cover our expenses, like their stock would get killed because people are buying them as a proxy to Bitcoin.
absolutely. So Warren Buffett has said famously Invest in what you know, right? Invest in what you understand. Paraphrasing. So I do understand the miners a lot more than I understand MicroStrategy. At least I understand that like Riot can mine one Bitcoin for about 35, $36,000. My Marathon's like probably around 40,000 or so.
Yeah.
And if it's trading at 95, 90, whatever it is now, right? I can see how there's a potential there to make money. There's a spread there, right? A
Yeah.
built-in spread, a baked-in spread. They're essentially mining Bitcoin at wholesale and have the ability to sell it at retail. So I can see, I can follow the money there. I can follow the logic, if that makes sense. And
Yes.
then now Riot or Marathon, sorry, I'm thinking, hoping maybe Riot will follow suit to a certain degree. But I know after looking Jason in the eye for a couple of hours now,
Yeah.
this dude is not going to do anything if he feels like it risks the company long term. So they have to like fully understand it because they're not going to do things just because they think it's going to pump up the price and stuff of the share price because they do want to bring shareholder value to us. But dude, Riot is not going to crumble on his watch. You know what I mean? He's not going to do it. Like
Yeah.
it's like he's showing me he's a very conservative poker player as a CEO, but he was far from that as an actual poker player. Like this fucking dude will put a lot of pressure on you playing poker, but he's a lot more conservative with the way he's the CEO of Riot Platforms. But that being said, I've made a lot of money with this company here at Marathon in the past.
Yeah.
The reason that I chose Riot to be my main horse in this sector in this stable is because I believed in their infrastructure plans more so than I bought into Marathon because I felt like Marathon was like I called them the Neo of Bitcoin mining. They were like trying to do like a little bit too much stuff and it was uncomfortable for me. And then they had done something with a convertible note in like 2022 that I didn't quite agree with. And I don't even remember all the details because it's like you sell it and forget it type thing.
Yep.
So Fred Thiel, the CEO, had gone on talking investing with Tom, and he had said that I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and he essentially did the complete opposite. So it lost a little credibility with me. That's it. So I was just like, oh well, made a shitload of money on Marathon. I understand the story, or I'm able to follow the story and the logic a little bit more with Riot. But that being said, dude, Wall Street loves this ticker right here. Like
Well,
this ticker here just gets a lot more action than any of the Bitcoin miners. That's just the way that it's always been.
yeah.
Since I've been invested since about 2020.
The thing is, TJ, that like a lot of people, they don't know about Bitcoin miners, nor
Right.
do they want to learn the specifics about Bitcoin miners. And so, what do I do in that case? I just go to the biggest name in the space, right? And I just start messing around with that because if it's the biggest name in the space, it must be the best, right? Like that's the fallacy. And so, and then I think Marathon has had a boost for the exact same reason that MicroStrategy has had a boost, right? The convertible note offering, because what that tells me, if I'm just using logic, is it tells me that, hey, your competitors who are not doing this are going to have to dilute by issuing more shares to raise that money, whereas you're doing literally a 0%, convertible note, and you have the money without dilution until 2030.
Yeah. Agreed. So that is one reason that they're pumping. Another reason that I think that they are pumping is we have to give credit where credit is due. They just put out the November the results and they have mined a shitload of Bitcoin. You got to keep in mind the halving wasn't that long ago. And these guys came in with it says our BTC production grew 26% month over month to 907 Bitcoin and energized hash rate increased to 46.1 exahash per second, a 50% increase over October. Riot was under 500 Bitcoin for the month. So just to put it in perspective, you follow me? And then whenever we were visiting Riot, Jason Les, the CEO of Riot, said that Marathon is the first miner to mine 75 Bitcoin in one day. Like
Mhm.
all the stars just aligned that day, and they got rewarded, right? 'Cause you were like when we did the Wheelers, you were like saying that there's so many guesses or whatever that all these computers have to do, and you're talking about quintillions and all this other
Yeah,
Richie.
there's a factor of luck. There's a factor of luck for sure.
Yeah. But they got it, bro. Like they were betting on black and it was fucking hitting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So here's the thing, man. I think that like over the short term, you know, especially if you're wheeling these names, there's a lot of premium. Because while you were talking, I just looked at BitX, which is the 2x leverage Bitcoin ETF.
Yes.
And the premiums are just not even close to being as lucrative. And I'm like, okay, well, I understand why people would go into the miners or in MicroStrategy because the premiums are there. Whereas if you go direct to the source, the premiums are not. And so in the short term, I understand that. But I think in the long term, and by that, I mean 6 months plus, maybe 9 months plus, the business models are going to change drastically. And we are going to figure out who made the right decision because Marathon is seriously committed to this convertible note thing. They've raised a couple of times now, similar to MicroStrategy. And then the others have not. CleanSpark has said that they're open to it, but they basically don't want to do it. And that is going to cause a divergence in terms of their performance that's different from the underlying, like how much can they mine? Like the story was very simple up until this point. It was just exahash equals like times Bitcoin price equals value of company, essentially. You know, how much can you mine? That's how valuable your company is. Whereas now it's going to be different because Marathon has solved the dilution problem. And that's the main problem, I think, with all of the miners is that they're running a ship and it has this giant hole in it. And periodically water just comes out or goes in. And so, you know, I do think that we can't see it play out right now. But fast forward until they need to pay their employees for the next month. And you're like, well, where's that money coming from?
Right. That's where balance sheets matter, right? So you have to dig and you have to look and like, okay, I like the concept. Can Marathon afford it? I can save y'all some homework. The answer is yes. You know what I mean? For now. Is there dilution incoming? You fucking bet your ass. There's dilution incoming. But if they are producing Bitcoin at the level that they're producing, if they can get maybe more people to do more convertible bond notes, whatever you want to call them, I mean, bro, it's one of those things that maybe it starts feeling a little Ponzi-ish, if you will, but it's their little money glitch and it probably works until it doesn't. You know what I mean? But that being said, I said something very, very key there, and I'm hoping that you caught on to it. Because Marathon is now implementing the MicroStrategy, I cannot make Marathon an investment, but I can trade the hell out of it. So I formulated a plan on how to make money with Marathon. So forget about the fact that this thing's made 7 figures for us. Forget about that for a second. I wanted to treat it like day one. And I don't never do long posts on X, but I tried my hand at the first one. Page out of a Microstrategy book, because this guy writes like Psalm 23 on X on a daily basis. It's a little fucking market recap, right? But I was like, dude, let me walk y'all through the mind of TJ the Wheel Deal. And I wanted to use this as a teaching segment, Tevis. And I want you to try to poke holes in the argument. So I want you to use the pessimistic point of view. And because I think that the girl's pretty, but tell me where you see the ugliness in the girl. You follow me?
Sure.
But we're both agreeing she's a looker. But nobody's perfect. You know what I mean? So there's going to be some holes in the strategy. So let me walk y'all through the mindset. Is that large enough to read or no?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So essentially, this is the covered strangle on Marathon. What is the Goldilocks scenario? Marathon stays above 22 and below 30. I capture all the premiums from puts and calls, and the shares are also printing. Even though I made a lot of money off of Marathon in the past, I'm treating this like day one with this ticker. These are questions that I ask myself. And the reason I want to walk y'all through this, Tevis, is because I know that you're new to wheeling. And these are the types of questions that I would like for you to start asking yourself before you even get into the trade. Because I don't want you to suffer from shiny object syndrome. I don't want you to be premium drunk and being like, oh, this premium is too good to pass up. I'll figure it out after. I can always roll. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to ask ourselves some very pertinent questions on the front end. Fair enough?
Yep. It's fair
Have
enough.
you ever heard the only you can prevent forest fires? Y'all can help me out in the chat who that's from. It's like I don't know. I want to call him Smokey the Bear or some shit. I'm not sure who it is, but there's a saying from some character, and it says, "Only you can prevent forest fires." So, yeah, Smokey the Bear. Thank you. So there's an old character called Smokey the Bear, and he's always talking about you need to prevent forest fires. So only you can keep yourself from blowing up your account. You know what I'm saying? So keep that in mind. And that's what I'm talking about with the forest fire. So this is what I ask myself. Can I manufacture the win here? The answer is yes. How big am I willing to go in order to give me the best chance? 25,000 shares. Can the company go out of business during the next 3 to 5 years? Very unlikely. Are premiums high enough so that the adjusted cost basis will come down rapidly? The answer is yes. How do I feel about the entry point? Because entry points do matter. About a C plus, I really hope it crashes to like 15 a share. Why? Because mathematically, it would just be a lot easier to manufacture the win. That's the reality. What's the ideal exit point on the initial 5,000 shares? Because I bought 5,000 shares last night. My ideal exit point is 35. So I've already predetermined that on the front end. Will I roll the covered calls if they get breached, or am I just here to legit wheel the stock? It's to be determined. Right now, I'm leaning more towards wheeling because of the unknown variable here, and that's the convertible situations. Do I believe in the convertible note strategy? Unsure, to be honest. Therefore, I'm playing small while I continue to learn more. Do I still like Riot more? Absolutely, for the long haul. Their infrastructure is pretty damn impressive. This is just a trade. Can it graduate to an investment? Perhaps. And this is the actual trade. So I got 5,000 shares, paid 25.25 for them, down a little bit as of the screenshot here, and I'll show the actual trade in a second, which is about where it's at, because I think Marathon's at 24.85 right now. And I have two options. This is the covered strangle. So a covered strangle is when you own at least 100 shares of the stock and you sell a covered call for a certain expiration date, and then you sell a cash secured put for that same expiration date. So you're strangling it in every way, shape, or form. If it goes up, the shares are printing, the covered call is getting challenged, the cash secured puts are printing. If it goes down, the covered calls are no bueno. I'm sorry, the covered calls are bueno. The shares themselves are no bueno, but the cash secure puts are getting challenged. So you're winning one part of the trade and you're managing the other. The Goldilocks scenario is that it stays between this spread right here, but theoretically above your share price, right? Your average cost, which is in this case 25.25. So anything north of 25.25 is the Goldilocks scenario. A real good Goldilocks scenario is more like 29 bucks, because that means the shares are making money. The next round of covered calls is going to be very lucrative. But then the thorn becomes, if I want to continue with the covered strangle, am I going to be okay raising the cash secured put price from 22 to maybe 23 or 24? So that's going to be more risk there. There's always going to be gimmies and gotchas.
So yeah, I think that's the first thing, right? Well, a couple things. First of all, did you just buy these shares on the open market? And if so, like why? Like why wouldn't you just do a cash secured put expiring in 3 days for 24 or 25 and just get some premium?
Really good observation, is because I wanted to juice up the premiums and not be one-sided on the stock. Because whenever you sell a cash secured put, the only money that you could ever make is the cash secured put premium. That's it.
Yeah, but you want the shares.
No. I'm saying when you sell the cash secured put, the only money you're qualified for is the premiums. Yes or no?
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
So it was at an area where 3 to 5 years from now, could I gotten them at 22 or 23? It was one of those things, like it was irrelevant, because I knew that immediately I was going to get a rebate via the covered call premiums as soon as the market opened today. And I'll walk y'all through what I did. And then I knew that I was going to sell cash secured puts. I was going to bring in the covered call premium. I was going to bring in the cash secured put premium. That's probably going to equate to about $3.50 to $4. So in my mind, it's almost like I artificially bought these shares at like $22 anyway. But I'm already in the game at a heavier level. You follow me? Like I didn't want to just be like, okay, cool. I sell a bunch of cash secured puts at $22, make all that money. This thing goes up to 35. I didn't participate in any of that upside.
Yep. No, I get it. I get it.
So it was more of a FOMO way to get in and get in now, but also protect myself to the downside by selling aggressive covered calls, but then saying, "Hey, I'm here to play. I know we started with 5,000, but we're okay ending up at 25,000. If this thing crashes to 15,000, you guys might be freaking out. I'm going to be excited because now I can really dance with this thing. And maybe it's not 25,000 shares. Maybe now it's 125,000 shares like Riot, because now I got the entry point that Riot gave me."
Yeah.
Because the reason that Riot got so big is because it stayed flat longer. So it gave me an opportunity to build up the position. Marathon always just got away from me, bro. Like, because this thing, when it moons, I mean, dude, it goes 20, 30, 40% in a freaking day. And you're like, holy shit, what do I do now? Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that, like, you know, all my questions are a little bit longer term, right? Because in the short term, can you manage the position? Roll whatever leg you need to, or
Yeah.
take assignment and then write it for next week, or whatever it may be. Um, yes, you can do that, but over the long term, like, this thing has massive swings to the point where, like, in 2023, Riot was $3 or Marathon was $3,
Right.
right? And so, but the year before it was like $70.
Yeah.
And
So
so,
you'll see it right here. I think I'm pulling it up. So
yeah,
this thing was $75 at the peak, and then it has a real big window, but since March of 2022, it crashed down to like 554, and
yeah,
then it traded in a range for a long time, right? Like if we're able to just draw two parallel lines, it
yep,
traded in a range from like $5, $6 to like $20. So that's a huge range, but it's still a range nonetheless. But it has been trending up. If you look at it, it's been going up, and now we've landed over here, kind of right in the middle of that range, or 25, the higher end of that range.
yeah.
So it's violent, bro, but it hasn't approached these levels. Do you know why that is, Tevis? Because I can give you a legitimate answer as to why it hasn't gone to these levels again, and why it is not likely to go to those levels again anytime soon.
Why is that?
Because the float is like 400% larger today than it was back
They diluted, yeah.
like a son
Um,
of a bitch. I mean, these I call the miners the masters of dilution. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, if there were a magic show in Vegas, it wouldn't be the masters of illusion. It would be the masters of dilution.
but you hypothetically won't have that problem again going forward. So,
That is the hope, right?
right.
That's
So
the hope. So we're
that's
here.
that's the benefit of writing these things. So here's the thing. The thing that concerns me slightly is, I know Bitcoin goes in cycles, and I know each cycle is less violent than the last because, economies of scale, or whatever you want to call it, law of big numbers. Essentially, this thing gets so large that it can't have 1,000% moves uh, on a bull market, and 500% moves down. It'll have like 150, so on and so forth. And so as a result, a lot of the miners and the proxies and everything else is going to also trade less volatile over time. And I'm talking about over years,
Yeah.
but directionally up. With this bull run, like, we've gotten close to 100. There's a huge psychological level at 100. Like, we haven't broken it yet. I was hoping that we would have broken it by now. But where do you think we are in the Bitcoin, uh, like, top? How far away from the top do you think we
I
are?
think we're about 6 months away.
You think we're 6 months away from hitting the top?
Yeah. Of this cycle?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you look at the little rainbow chart. And again, I studied it for like 10 minutes a month ago. So I don't know that I'm like an expert in that aspect, but yeah, I think that Bitcoin sees 125,000 on this cycle, maybe more, and then what's it called, the crypto winter, or the bear market for crypto. I want to address Mr. Premium's comment because he's always kind of shitting on me on my buy right strategy, but I do make a lot of money, so keep that in mind, right? But essentially, the reason that I chose to write the cover calls here is because I don't think I'm getting the best entry point, and I need protection to the downside, and I have zero fucking emotion on these shares. So, like, if they breach 30, like, I'm not Again, this is just a trade, and then I'm making all the money. I mean, dude, I picked up $12,000, right, in premiums between both of these, because there's this, it's the stuff that I used to do, right? Sell cover calls on green days, sell puts on red days. But right now, I'm just trying to build the position. I'm trying to build the position, and this is the 25% bullet. So until things get serious, then I'll play it a little bit more serious. But right now, I'm just trying to build the position, and I want to have both legs going at the same time, because I'm playing it small, but I'm playing it aggressive. You know what I mean? Like, in small relative to so what is your downside protection if this goes to 5? Is that I have millions of dollars in the portfolio and I would scoop up a fuckload of shit. This is 25% of the total position allocation that I desire. Keep that in mind, right? So that would actually be the best case scenario, but then I'd have to obviously look at what's going on with the company, because they're not going to go to 5 just because, right? Probably Bitcoin's in the shitter at 50 or 60,000. Something happened with a convertible bond. I have no idea. Like, it would have to be something pretty drastic for that to happen realistically. Can I see a world where it goes to 15? I can see that world. Can I see 5? Dude, honestly, I think the fundamentals have gotten so much better on the company. I think that 5 is kind of like a pipe dream, because I would love to scoop up some Marathon at 5, because I've done it before. But I don't think that that's going to happen anymore. And it's also like, what's your protection if you're already a shareholder and it goes to 0? We're all kind of in the same boat. Like, people always shit on cash secured put. What are you going to do if it goes to 0? What are all the shareholders going to do? We're all in the same fucking boat. The difference is they already own the shares. I don't.
I mean, I get the point as well, because like your downside protection essentially is I'll buy more, and by buying more, you like, sink yourself in deeper if you're married to the wrong stock.
Yeah.
Because it can go to 5 and then it can go to 2 and then it can go to fucking 50 cents,
Right.
and you're like, oh, I'll buy more. And you can absolutely buy more and try to dig your way out. But at the same time, if it's the wrong play, and in your questions that you asked, you were saying like, is this a long term? Maybe.
Yeah.
So I think like, you know, for me, if I was like with SoFi or Tesla or, one of my big plays, like I would ride or die with that if it went to $4
Right.
or whatnot, right? Because I'm confident underlying in the company. Whereas would I ride or die with Marathon or CleanSpark? No, I'd probably cut losses and run.
Yeah. You see, what I've been in these since 2020. So maybe my comfort level is also something that could blind me a little bit, because it makes you a little bit biased, right? But I mean, nothing's guaranteed, right? This isn't financial advice, but I bet anybody $1 million fucking dollars this company's around for 3 to 5 years. Like, even easier than Riot. Like, 1 second. Hey, baby doll.
I think the problem with this company being around for 3 to 5 years is, again, what we were talking about earlier, which is that diversion in that strategy.
Yeah.
Because if they take on all this debt, let's say, and if Bitcoin doesn't hit that threshold, okay, they have a massive margin of safety for it to be fine. And like, I'm sure it will be fine, but it's an added layer of risk. Whereas with dilution, they're always diluting, shareholders that like people are okay to buy up those extra shares. Um, so I don't know. Like that's the only thing that I'm trying to play devil's advocate, right? Because I think it's going to be around as well. But you're taking on all of this extra debt in these convertible notes. So I don't know.
Yeah, like, I don't know how and again, if y'all could help me out, because I'm gonna dig, right? Because here's the thing: convertible notes make it very interesting, because I don't have the same level of understanding. Like, before this hocus pocus abracadabra got into the mix, although it's very sexy, I'm excited. We're here talking about it, right? And I've got a position. I haven't had a position in a long time, because, dude, quite frankly, Riot's just been in that Goldilocks zone for me, that it's been so easy to make money. And I understand the company a little bit more because I follow it more. That's it. I mean, the reason I understand it more is because I follow it more. The reason you understand Tesla and SoFi so much, Tevis, is because you follow it so much, right? I mean, you understand it because you follow it, because you're interested. I just happened to be more interested in Riot than I was in Marathon from day one. But I also recognized that the market really seemed to love Marathon a whole lot. I was like, man, dude, this like Riot moves up 5%. This thing moves up 7 or 8% or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? So it had like higher highs and higher lows in comparison to Riot, but it had a real rough year in 2022 when nothing was clicking for Marathon, bro. Like everything was over promise and under deliver. And it really tested my mettle as an investor with them because I was long both of them, dude. It was like 50-50 as far as the allocation that I wanted with these stocks, not just in the big portfolio, but in my wife's as well. Because I was wheeling my wife's live and in color for you guys. And it was always like I loved me some Marathon, but I just couldn't quite follow the story as easily as I could with Riot. Riot was very straightforward, no special effects. You know what I mean? The only thing that ever pissed me off with the Riot, and I had a chance to tell Jason about it, I was like, dude, why did it take y'all so long to get that building back online whenever that winter storm came? And he was like, dude, that was a fiasco. They tried like 2 or 3 different things. They thought they could fix it. It turned out that they had to like rebuild the whole thing because the damage was a lot more extensive than they initially had calculated and stuff. And that was the only time. That was the only time that
I'd be really interested to also get Jason's thoughts on this convertible note offering and like, where he sits in this sort of spectrum.
I asked him about it, and he didn't give me too much because I think that it's also new to everybody.
Yeah.
And just because they're CEOs, it's not like they have like you know what I'm saying? Like I'm sure they kicked it around and stuff, but I think that it's new to them too. Hopefully, we'll be able to get them on the channel here soon as we keep growing this segment. And I think by the numbers that we're seeing coming in, dude, I totally think that I'll reach out to him and he'll do it because we do have a lot more interest around this topic now. But I'm sure he'll clarify it for us, bro. That's the cool thing about him that I really, really like this. Ask him the fucking question, you're going to get the answer. It might not be the answer that you want, but I'm saying he's going to give you the answer, and it's either they're in it or they're not in it. They're entertaining it. Like I asked him, if they were looking at the HPCI thing, and he said the right deal hasn't been presented, but we're definitely entertaining offers.
The thing, right? Because it totally changes the business model up from a miner to a treasury, essentially, right? Because that's essentially where they get the majority of their value. Like, yes, they mine, hundreds of Bitcoin every quarter, but at the same time, they're avoiding dilution by taking people's money so that they don't have to sell their Bitcoin. And like, I get that, but it's different, it's new, and it changes the business model up. And I think that's where the bulk of my questions are right now.
Yeah, and I think that those are really, really good questions, Tevis, and I have them also. And that is why it's 5,000 shares and not 50. Because I don't understand it. Like that's the level of my understanding. That's the level that I'm willing to play is 25,000 shares. So what does that equate to financially at $25? You know what I mean? Like it's a big bet, but it's not Riot big, it's not SoFi big, it's not Tesla big or companies that I feel like I just know more about. So I'm a lot more comfortable. There's definitely a little more speculation here, a little bit more gamble, and it's also going with the trend a little bit because if you look at market sentiment, I would say that the market sentiment on Riot is more like a 3 to 4, and it's probably more like a 7 or 8 on Marathon. There's a lot of people that would easily make an argument that'd be like, dude, you probably had been better off making Marathon your bigger horse and not Riot. And right now, they would certainly be right. Everybody in MicroStrategy is certainly right now, but it wasn't right for me because my level of understanding wasn't there. So I have to pick the one that makes sense for me at the end of the day, right? give it to Mr. Premium of the option. We did our very first episode of Wheelers, and he said something that really stuck with me because I had only heard it one other time, and it's from a billionaire. And he said, we are all the CEOs of our portfolios.
Yeah.
And dude, I was just like, my goodness, this dude really understands this game, because I've literally only heard this one other time in my life. But you got to look at the CEO at your hamburger stand, and you got to make sure that that menu item makes sense for your hamburger stand.
Absolutely.
And right now, I'm telling y'all that Marathon's a seasonal item. It's like guacamole for Subway. It's like the McRibs for McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? There's a season here. I think there's money to be had, but I also have to be very careful because I don't know how much time I'm willing to invest either to learn more about this shit, because sometimes things just are beyond your scope. You know, for me anyway, Devis, I don't have the brain capital that you guys have.
No, I mean, it's also like just you spreading yourself too thin with a lot of these positions. Like, you might have the brain capital to essentially research it in and out and do all the, things, but it's like, do you really want to? Like, you have 8 other names or 9 other names in there that you're already doing the same thing with. Like, why create more work for yourself? Like, I asked you, I think we were offline, but like, I asked you, hey, TJ, I'm starting off doing weeklies exclusively. Like, am I doing something wrong? And you're like, no, you're not doing something wrong. You're going to collect more premium, but it's just like, I don't want the headache or the hassle to do it with an $11 million portfolio.
Yeah.
Fair answer. And so it's like, well, for Dollar General and Intel and Marathon and all of these other like cash grabs, like, do you want the extra headache to make them long positions?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I've got that headache with Intel. Dude, I was so close to selling Intel, and it was going to be like a negative $2,000 loss at the end of the day. Whenever they did the CEO thing, the Pat Gelsinger, is that his name? He stepped down, right? He retired.
Yeah. Stepped down. I mean, he was fired. Yeah.
He said he retired. But anyway, it shot up to like the high 25s.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, dude, that is actually above my adjusted cost basis. I could free up if I close out the cash secured puts and close out the covered calls, which were like at 87% profit, by the way, and sell the shares. I'd actually be overall profitable in the position and be sitting on an extra 800,000 in cash.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I'll go make 80, 90, 100,000, because I was already eyeballing Marathon, to be honest with you, full disclosure.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I'll make a lot more money if I put that 800,000 and started selling cash secured puts at freaking $19 on Marathon, or $20, way out of the money. You know what I'm saying? And knowing damn well that I wouldn't take ownership unless it hit 15.
Yeah.
And then ride those things up to 25. This portfolio could be approaching 14, 15 million pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But I was like, ugh, I've already gone down the rabbit hole too much with Intel. I think that Intel will have a 3 in front of it, and it's not going out of business. I don't have to deal with the fucking convertible notes and all this. I just got to hope that they go find a good CEO that gets the market excited, because right now it's 2 people doing it. So I just chose the easier route for me, even though that I think that Marathon would have certainly been the more profitable route. But it would have caused me to like lose a little bit more sleep at night, because now I really got to dig into the convertible bond thing, because it's not that I'm bearish on it. I just don't understand it enough, because at some point, don't you have to sell something to make good on these loans? I'm just talking about the actual principle. Forget about the fact that you get to use these people's money to go out and do your thing, but you're not really doing your thing. You're paying down debt, and you're buying Bitcoin at very high prices. So that's the part that I still can't wrap my mind around, is why is everybody so excited that Microstrategy and Marathon are buying Bitcoin at all-time highs? Give me a thumbs up if you're using every last piece of disposable income to buy Bitcoin right now.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
I'm just saying, because I sold the Bitcoin that I had at 75 and didn't look back, because I can sell covered calls against it. So maybe that's just it's lack of understanding. So when you have lack of understanding, you probably best to play small or not play at all, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? Like these companies are all in on Bitcoin. That's not, for me, for example, I was buying Bitcoin. I've been buying it to, um, I've been buying it to, like for years and years since 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
But I bought it again pretty heavily over the summer, and I was making videos about it over the summer. But Bitcoin was like at
Right.
36,000 or something over the summer. And yet, like, now it's ballooned to be 20% of my total portfolio. I'm not selling it, but at the same time, I'm not buying more at 95. Whereas these people are like, Bitcoin is our entire business. We're putting everything we have on Bitcoin, and we're going all in consistently on Bitcoin. And the
Yeah.
people who are bullish on Bitcoin, like the convertible note thing, is an amazing, like, it is an infinite money glitch, right? Because you're saying, hey, you know, will Bitcoin be up or down in the next 5 years? And if it's up, then yeah, sure, here's a percentage of that. But then they can issue more in 5 years at a higher, valuation and collect more Bitcoin. And so it's the whole Michael Saylor approach of like, hey, take on as much debt as you can in fiat and put all of that money in Bitcoin, because only one of them is going to retain that value and the other one is going to, fall victim to inflation. Now, if you're bullish on Bitcoin, that sounds amazing. If you're skeptical or lukewarm on Bitcoin, you're like, oh, wait a minute here. Like, I don't necessarily know. Let me think of the downside. So I get where you're coming from. It's just that it depends on how much allocation you want to have in your portfolio or how much exposure to Bitcoin you want to have. And you have quite a bit with Riot already, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, if the underlying something happens to that, then that's going to affect all your positions if you go in heavier with Marathon as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. So they're asking me if Chris Patel had something to do with this trade, because Chris Patel talked about it on Cash Flow Chronicles with Matt yesterday. He had some. He texted me. He texted me early yesterday, and he showed me a graph that they ended up showing on Cash Flow Chronicles, and I was like, "That looks like Marathon." They didn't even have Marathon on it. But I followed these companies, right? Like, just because I'm not in Marathon, it's like I don't know what the hell's going on with the company. You know what I mean? And he was like, I'm thinking about selling cash puts at 20, and I go, easy money. That was the conversation. And then I have the WhatsApp group for the members, right?
Yep.
And one of the guys sent me a text, and he's like, bro, why don't you sell Pfizer and buy Marathon? You'll make a lot more money. They're about the same price. You're always saying how much you hate Pfizer.
That's true.
And that put me over the top, because I literally own Pfizer at about the exact same clip as we got. Let me see if I can pull it
So
up.
here's the thing, man, and this is something that I need a little bit of your guidance and your help with, because what it sounds like to me is it sounds like you're also premium chasing to some degree. Because if Marathon didn't give the same premiums that it does, or if anything with exposure to Bitcoin didn't give the same premiums that it does, like, we wouldn't collectively, the both of us, we wouldn't be in him as heavily. Like right now, I have a strangle on both Marathon and on CleanSpark, right? I have 22s in cash secured puts on Marathon. I have 12s in CleanSpark, and then I have 20s in CleanSpark, and then I have 30s in Marathon. So the reason why we're doing that is because it gives great premium. Do I want to have, realistically speaking, 50 grand in Marathon? Absolutely not. Like, not for the long term. Do I want to have 50 grand in CleanSpark? Probably not for the long term. And so
I think hold on one second though. I think that answer is incomplete. And I think that all the things that you know about CleanSpark and all the things that you know about Marathon, I think that you would be comfortable at those levels if it was at the right price.
Yes, absolutely. But I'm saying, like,
but at these prices, the answer is absolutely not. And I get you. But that's why I've always said on the channel that entry points do matter, guys. Because I wouldn't have the shares that I have on SoFi if the average cost was still 11 or 12 bucks.
Yeah.
Like, I was able to beat the shit down to the $7 and $8 range, whatever the hell I landed now. I haven't even looked at the SoFi position, bro. I sold $18 covered calls, by the way, and I forgot about them. Dude, SoFi's not at 18, right? I haven't gotten any notifications because I like sometimes I have too many positions on and I forget about real key ones like the staple of the channel is SoFi, and I'm like, I'm not even monitoring my freaking bread and butter right now because I'm so premium drunk, as you just said, on these fucking miners.
That's the thing, right? Because like, so here's my dilemma, right? I look at Nubank and I'm like, oh man, this is a good company fundamentally. They're growing, whatever. And I know how you feel about Nubank, but like,
No, that's the CEO. The company, bro.
sure.
I mean, dude, they own Latin America, bro, or Brazil anyway.
So
And I mean, dude,
Nubank TJ has fallen from $16. It's now under 12. Okay. I'm like, okay, I kind of want to pick some of that up. The premiums are absolute garbage. And I'm like, well, fuck, if I have all of this money here and I'm collecting, every month a couple of percentage points, why would I pick up Nubank right now and lock up that capital if I'm not going to wheel against it? And why would I wheel against it if the premiums are garbage? And so, like,
yeah,
my whole, perception of investing has kind of gotten warped a little bit in the short term because a part of me really, like, if I didn't do wheeling or premiums or anything like that, writing options, I'd be all over Nubank at these prices. Honestly, I'd buy it. But because I am actually making that capital work, I'm like, well, I don't know.
Hood. I could have loaded up on Hood at $8 or $9,
Right.
but the premiums weren't good. 1 second, dude. It's one of my clients. The premiums weren't good, and the options chain was horrible. So I
Right.
was like, it just doesn't work for me, and I think it's a winner. Mid had
Yeah.
started covering it. Shout out to my brother-in-law Zeke. Zeke is the one that told me about Robinhood. He's like, bro, we all got our fucking money in Robinhood. Robinhood's around. And this guy's like real like animated and shit. Hope he's not watching the channel. I'm doing a horrible job of imitating him. But dude, this dude, he's like, dude, Robinhood. And he was like sending me articles, bro, like bothering me with it for like a month.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, Zeke, fuck Robinhood. There's no premiums there. So it didn't. That was one of my criteria for a stock. Is like, do I think there's a double in the next 3 to 5 years? Yes. Can it go out of business in the next 3 to 5 years? The answer's got to be no. And can I collect enough premiums in the next 3 to 5 years to have an adjusted cost basis of zero? Because that's the game that I'm playing. I want to own the shares with other people's money. And on Robinhood, I didn't see that path. Now the premiums have gotten better. The option chain's gotten better. So that brings me to the next thing. Bro, a double's a double's a double's a double. If you think Nubank's going to go from 12 to 24 and you didn't have to do anything and just write the shares up, that's the easiest way to make money in the stock market still. Or here's another one. Here's another one. Whenever they don't, again, this is Wheeler's seminar number 2. How do you play a stock that doesn't have the premiums that you're looking for, but you still think that it has the double? Then it makes sense to buy long calls.
Yeah.
Because you're not tying up as much capital, and then you can sell the cover calls against those long calls, maybe run the poor man cover call strategically, and then let the leaps print, and you're making essentially the same money that you would have on the shares, but only using 30 to 40% of the capital required, and then you can use the bigger money to wheel the stocks that actually pay enough premium. That way you have the exposure to that stock without needing to own it, if you will. So that's something that I've considered doing on some stocks that just don't fit the mold for what I like to do, but I still want to have the exposure. And that brings me to what I wanted to do with Intel yesterday. That's what I was supposed to do, or a couple of days ago. I was supposed to sell everything, get more cash, and then just go buy 200 leaps on Intel and see what happens. And then now I just parked, maybe $200,000 on the leaps, freed up a shitload of money, and I can make a lot more cash flow with that money, and then just let Intel do what it's going to do. They'll figure out the CEO. They have 2 or 3 years. I only need a couple of dollars of capital appreciation because the leaps aren't that expensive, and then I can have my 20,000 shares down the road. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't fucking do it. Like I had to play, bro. I had it all mapped out. We broke the huddle, and then I went and I fucking did Omaha, and I changed the whole fucking play. Wait, y'all have no idea what I'm talking about. If y'all nerds don't watch football, that's a Peyton Manning thing. He'd do his audible, and he'd be like, Omaha, and change the whole fucking play.
That's funny. No, I mean, I think the long calls is a good idea. I wasn't considering them, but I'm looking at long calls for Celsius and also for M-Phase as like leaps, because I don't really necessarily want to have a lot of exposure to those names right now. And then I'll probably add new to that list as well and start just building up a position of like 2027s.
What are your thoughts on Celsius, dude? Because Celsius is something that I've really, really been excited about. But you know that P&L, well, I guess you don't know, but there's a P&L now with Robinhood. And I've actually lost like 10 grand on Celsius collectively. And I just, I like Celsius in the mid 20s, and it gave us the mid 20s not so long ago. Like right over here, right? It was, right over here. November the 18th, it was the mid 20s. What are your thoughts on it? Because I know that they're just scratching the surface on international expansion. I know that they're not growing at the level that they were growing. PepsiCo bought a lot more product than they needed. Perhaps they overshot it. So that shut down the sales, because Celsius doesn't sell direct to consumer, right? They sell to I guess they like PepsiCo buys from them, and then Pepsi goes and sells the shit, and then it's like it's an ongoing deal. But what are your thoughts on it long term? Is it a fad, or is it really the next monster? I mean, because it has had monster performance with the stock price even after this pullback. Like, what are your thoughts on it?
Look, I think they're going to have a little bit of short-term weakness in their numbers because they're a little bit cyclical in the fact that Pepsi is making these huge orders, and then that's fucking up with their numbers quite a bit, like what their revenue is looking like, what their growth prospects are looking like in terms of their guidance. So there's going to be some short-term pain, I think, for the next couple of quarters, but I think that they're going to equalize it out, because essentially Pepsi is going to get through that inventory, and they're going to make another big purchase, and at Celsius all of a sudden is going to look like a darling from their growth rate perspective. Now, I think the international expansion is really interesting because it shows that this company has a lot of runway for growth. Not to mention that, like, in the US, Celsius has so many different flavors, like insane how many flavors they have. In Canada, we only have 3. Right? Okay. They're only dipping their toe into just Canada and France as well. But like, think of all of Europe, they have so much growth ahead of them. I mean, they're like a $6 billion company at these prices, that if you're okay to weather that short-term pain for another couple of quarters, because the story is so closely tied to Pepsi right now, then I think you're going to do very well because of all the other initiatives that they have going on a little bit longer down the horizon. And that's the reason why I want to buy leaps on them, because I'm like, dude, the story is all Pepsi, Pepsi, Pepsi right now. I want to take advantage of that at these prices.
Right.
Because once they go to more countries, once they issue more flavors, once they sign more deals, maybe Pepsi goes out and buys them all together. Like that was on my playbook as a wild card pick for a while. Like Pepsi can just make an offer for these guys and be like, hey, screw it. We want you in the roster.
Well, I think especially now at these levels, right? Because when it was like at 80, 90 bucks, whatever the hell, it skyrocketed too when Chris Patel made like a shitload of money. Some of y'all may not have seen those screenshots. I did. This dude fucking made a lot of money on Celsius.
I made a ton of money on Celsius too, because I did buy leaps at $50 and I sold those leaps at $90 like 3 weeks later.
It's insane. Good for y'all. Good for y'all. And I loved it, dude. I was selling a bunch of puts at like 50, and then I don't know what happened. I think like that's something that I'm trying to like evolve in my game. But when I get into these companies, I have like a range, and my range is kind of narrow, and I'm trying to like expand that range, because the other reason that I chose like Riot over Marathon is because Riot stayed in my range. that was my comfort zone, right? Like, well, I'm not comfortable selling puts at these levels, and the premiums were still good. Whereas, like, I haven't sold a put in a long time on SoFi because the premiums aren't good enough to tie up that kind of money. And but Marathon did give that to me, so I guess I'm just like real slow on expanding my range with these companies, so I miss out on a lot of alpha to the upside, if that makes sense. So interesting stuff.
Yeah. I'm just getting asked in my chat, like, what strike price would I go for leaps in new bank? And I'm like, well, I'd probably go slightly out of the money, but keep in mind this thing was at $16 like 3 weeks ago. So, or 2 weeks ago, or last week even. So my point is like, it's not that deep out of the money.
Yeah, I would do like 15.
Mm.
You know, what do those cost you?
Yeah, I can do 2027s. Let me just take a look for you right now.
But there's headwinds. Like, let's talk about Nubank a little bit. I was watching Tanner talk about it because he follows. I think he's got a crush on David. He even calls him David and shit. And I'm making a joke because my wife's in the room and she actually went to school with the guy. But anyway, David's a fucking rock star CEO, obviously. You know, real good looking dude. On paper, worth billions of dollars now. Everything's great. Eubank is a fucking legit situation. Latin America, specifically Brazil, because there's not a lot of banking that exists for people over there. So they were like the only kid on the block, right?
Yeah.
So there's a new bank, and now they kind of like fucking took over. But I mean, if you look at the chart, I mean, dude, this thing was look at where it was just 3 months ago, bro, at 1589.
Yeah.
It you know, it's not unreasonable to think that it wouldn't get there. Just looking at the 1 year real quickly, I mean, you do have a little double top action there, and then it's plummeted back down. There was a double top action over here in August the 30th, plummeted down over here. So I think that it has to find resistance at these levels right here. If not,
support, you mean?
Yeah, support. I'm sorry. It's got to find support at these levels here in that 11-ish range, which is kind of where it's at. So I think it's a very critical level here. Very critical level here. The one thing is this company, like, it grows. I mean, I don't follow it that much. I just, I've heard you or more so Tanner talk about it. Mm-hmm. I mean, this thing's growing like 3 or 4 times as fast as SoFi is.
Yeah.
And
it's also like
they're a very profitable company, right?
It's also 4 times or 5 times bigger than SoFi is, dude. Like, it's like almost $60 billion.
Yeah. Yeah, so, but I'm saying to be bigger and to be growing faster.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I mean, bro, that's a crazy combination, Tevis.
Yeah.
But the premiums do suck. All that being said, the premiums do suck. And the one thing about selling options, it is going to warp your mindset a little bit in the way that you look at some of these stocks, because you're like, okay, cool, I believe in the investment thesis and all that. So I know that there's alpha to be had there, but is there cash flow to be generated? Or are you getting your quote unquote net new funds fix? Because I think that's what you love the most about selling options right now, is that it's almost like, shit, I don't have to keep depositing anymore because this shit is creating its own deposits.
That's exactly it. But I think the thing that I learned on this live stream with you is that if the premiums are shit for wheeling, then that makes them really great for writing long calls, right? Because they're cheap.
Ding, 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 baby. You got it. It took me 4 years. You figured it out in 4 months. Fuck you, Tim. That's the game, dude. That is literally the combination right there. If they ain't paying your shit, then you should be buying them, not selling them.
Yep. No, I got you.
If you believe that the company ultimately is going up and to the right.
That's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to have my Marathon and my Clean Spark and my TSLL funding my new Leaps position.
There you go, dude. That is, it's awesome. It's awesome, dude. Like, I collected a lot of premiums 2021, 2022, 2023. to buy a bunch of leaps with those premiums in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
And then now those premiums are up over $1 million, or those leaps are up over $1 million. But then now the reason I'm trying to raise cash is because of the long-term game is because now, like I recently exercised leaps on Tesla
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to cap off the position, and the cover call situation was kind of driving me a little bit crazy. So I gave up like 70 cents a share or something in an extrinsic value just to own the shares now, right? I could have waited. But I'm gonna have to do the same thing on PayPal, and I have 40,000 shares that I'm gonna exercise on SoFi. So all of that's gonna eat into the cash pile substantially. That's why I'm trying to like really see where the portfolio stands, because I'm gonna be owning a lot more shares than I want to be owning from a percentage perspective, because I'm trying to be like 50-50, like 50% share ownership, 50% for cash secure puts, etc. But now that's going to put me more like 70-30.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to make some bigger decisions. You know what I mean? Like, and like the Intel would have been an easy situation. Like, cause I would have essentially been turning the Intel shares into PayPal shares when I exercised those, and then the 40,000 shares of SoFi. So, you know, looking at the portfolio with different sets of eyes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because like I have some things here where they've just fallen like 40%, 50%, and I've just been holding them. And I'm like, dude, I can free up that cash and just build it back up eventually.
It's like this right here. You don't know what I'm talking about, Devis? The shake weights?
Yeah, and I know what a shake weight is.
Dude, there was this one. It was so phallic, bro. There was a white one and a black one, and the black one was the big weight, and the white one was the little weight. And there was these news anchors, and the girl had the big black one, and she's like, "I got the big black one," and the guy's like, "I got the little white one." And this shit went viral, bro. And they're just like sitting there. Okay, we're off on a tangent. Sorry.
Seriously.
Oh, fucking shake weights, bro.
Oh, man.
Oh god, that's a blast from the past.
Shall we call it? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I gotta feed the dogs, man. I gotta get something to eat. Been working out more, dude. Now I'm working on my diet. I'm trying to drink 2 of these a day. It's not a lot. It's like 60 ounces total, but it's a lot for me because I don't like drinking water. Like I like soda water, you know what I mean? But like just water for the sake of water is very tough for me. But I'm trying to just be healthier, man. I'm turning 50 in February. I need to make better choices with my life, right? Because they say that your body's like a reflection of your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So my body looks like somebody who sits around the computer all day and makes a lot of money trading stocks and eating junk food. And
Yeah,
I want to look like more just like a healthier lifestyle, and somebody who's selling options and out there living an active lifestyle.
yeah.
And I don't have to like babysit the account so much. So it's like kind of like what you said, like why weeklies, monthlies, etc. is because like now I'm doing more like monthlies and even annualies because I want to spend more time enjoying life, because we've we've sown, right? Like you reap what you sow, right?
Yep.
So we've already sowed. So now we want to enjoy a little bit of that harvest, if that makes sense. So I've been going live a lot less frequently and things like that, because I have golfed here a lot more recently. I'm trying to get out there today if the weather permits. I'm checking on my parents a lot more. Their health is really, really deteriorating. I'm not doing the carnivore diet. I'm looking at I'm doing the intermittent fasting. So I'm essentially eating from 12 to 8. So I'm really excited about these next 16 minutes because the restaurant's open for me now. But I'm trying to make good choices because I notice that when I eat like shit, it's harder to perform in my workout. Whereas when I eat well, the workout's easier. So there's gimmies and gotchas with everything, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's like it's been a long time since I look at food as fuel. I look at food as flavor.
Yeah.
Like I want to eat what tastes good. And now I'm like, dude, I'm doing the boring ass tuna and all that shit because it's like it helps me to do a little bit better in the weight room and stuff. As you get older, the recovery is like so much harder. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, brother, I appreciate you coming on. I want to dig more again on Riot here in the next week or two, and we'll also monitor the marathon place. I think we can kind of like pit them against each other. So we have like we have the three, right? We have Clean Spark, Riot, and Marathon. Those are essentially the biggest players in the space anyway. So I
Yep.
think it kind of works out because I also have cash secure puts on Clean Spark on as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I have a position. I basically have strangles on both Clean Spark and Marathon.
yeah. Yeah, I don't talk about this one much. I don't even, or do I still have it? Sad that I have a position on and I don't even know if I still have it, bro. This scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So I have 200 cash secure puts on Clean Spark at $8 that I did recently. When did I do these? On 12/3. Yeah, dude, a couple days ago. A day ago. I'm not even sure how long ago that was. What are we, the 5th? What are we?
That was yesterday, bro.
Yeah. So, wow, is that what happened? Shit.
What
Yeah,
do you-
dude, so I paid $24,400, all because I got a notification, and this is premium drunk. You want to hear a premium drunk story? I got a notification saying that their earnings came out. So I
Yeah.
literally just glanced at them. I didn't listen to anything Zach had to say. Zach's the CEO. Didn't give a shit what he had to say. Didn't
Yeah.
listen to any of that stuff. I went on X. This one lady said, horrible call. So I was like, oh shit, that means that Clean Spark's probably going to go down.
Yep.
So when Clean Spark went down and the Ivy was so high, I took advantage and I sold the puts at 8. I'm like, well, I don't know what happened on the call. I looked at the numbers; they looked nothing out of the ordinary to me. So I was like, well, let me see if we can grab this $25,000 bill, and then worst case, Clean Spark at $8. That wouldn't be the end of the world either. You know what I mean?
Dude, I did the exact same thing. Like yesterday, I did but I did them for Friday. I did 12s for Friday, and that was like 1.5%. And I'm like, okay, 1.5% for 3 days. Thank you. And it bounced back immediately.
Yeah.
So I'll probably end up closing those soon. But we'll see.
Yeah, I'm trying to milk at least 50% on those. The Clean Spark's been 261,000, and we haven't gotten assigned one share. It's kind of crazy.
Mm.
So I want to see if there's a way. You know how like you create these stupid metrics to keep you interested?
Yeah.
But I want to see if there's any way that I could get it to 500,000 on Clean Spark and never own a share. That's kind of like become like the new goal to keep me interested. Because, bro, like I don't know if y'all have figured it out. I'm bored.
Yeah.
And dude, when you sell options and things are clicking, it should be kind of boring for you.
Yeah.
Like it's boring, dude. Like that marathon play, dude. Yeah, dude. I read like 3 articles on marathon last night, dude. I haven't done any homework in a while, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't know that this company actually has like a lot going on right now. Like they've been moving and grooving, bro. Like legit. Good for them. You know what I mean? I don't know that Fred's ever going to turn me into a believer again, but maybe he will. I like Jason a lot more, maybe because I've had the privilege of meeting Jason a couple times. But I'm excited, you know, like now I'm in these new plays. Like I did the Dollar General play, closed it out, made a little bit of money, and only because I just don't want to have any more homework. Like that's but I think people are going to continue to shop at Dollar General. If it gets back into the 60s, I'll revisit and sell more cash care puts, but I don't want to touch it in the 70s. It just went up too much and made 50% in a week, you know, call it good. But anyway, guys, gotta get rocking and rolling. Please subscribe to Tevis Fundamentals of Investing, and you're fun of investing, right? At on X.
Which is like the best handle, I feel. Because some guy from like 2013 has taken Tevis and it's a bot that hasn't posted anything. And I'm like, dude, give me the handle. But it is what it is.
And they don't you can't do that kind of stuff You can't do that kind of stuff on X, like request that kind of thing.
No, I mean they already have the handle, but they just don't. They've never posted anything or anything like that, you know.
Yeah, but
So
I'm saying you can't like write to like to custom.
I don't have connections like that, bro. I mean, I'm sure I could, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, fun of investing is
I posted something and people gave me shit, but have y'all seen this? Dude, this is crazy, bro. Look at all of these fucking people, dude. Is it showing up on the thing?
yeah.
Like, how are there so many? And you gotta like look real closely. Like, this is Wheel, WHEALDEEL, and it's just I don't under TJ Tesla underscore. Like, what the fuck? Like, dude, and then they're using like my picture and stuff. Dude, like people just don't give a shit. Or
Yeah.
so what exactly? You're in this space a little bit. So what exactly is a bot? Like when people say, "Hey, like all these damn bots," because these people are trying to get people to go to Telegram and all this other shit, and this is for my private and this and that, and I have like all this coaching. So I go in there and I try to like delete comments and block these people because they like show up on my comments too, bro. Like, and then I try to like respond to them and they block my ass.
Bro, yeah, they block you so that you can't see them, so that you can't report them. But bro, you have a whole room in some call center in India that's dedicated just to you, my friend.
It's fucking ridiculous.
Like there's a whole team dedicated to you.
Look at this shit right here. This is crazy. DJE. No, I just don't want them like somebody suckering. You know what I'm saying? Like giving people these money and expecting that you're gonna get, I don't know, something that just doesn't exist. But like all my trades are posted on the WhatsApp group for the members. I post for the most part everything on X, and then when I do go live, I typically do cover the portfolio there. So just please don't fall into any of that stuff, man, because I don't know how to stop it, bro. Like I've tried to report, and then they want me taking pictures of my license, and dude, they make it real hard for you to do any of this stuff. And I'm just like, dude. So if the Twitter account gets bigger, I think that the problem's just going to get bigger too. You know what I mean? And I just don't want. I don't want anybody to be taken advantage of. Is all I'm saying.
Oh yeah, it's just that's how you know you've made it. You've arrived.
Dude, of all the people in the world, bro, why would you want to pretend to be me, dude? I'm just a regular old dude. I know how to sell options and I eat a lot of ice cream and I'm trying to stop.
Bro, you probably have more bots than I do because you command a larger portfolio and you make more frequent trades, and so people associate that with like, oh well, I can teach you to get rich quick, and that I just post SoFi news, like I don't,
Yeah,
like
dude,
so.
I'm not sure. Anyway, my man, dude, Teva, it's always a pleasure, brother. Make sure to hit like and subscribe, guys. I imagine if you're on this channel, you're probably already on Tevasis, but hopefully, if you're not, like, please subscribe to this channel as well. TJ the Will Deal signing off with Tevis from Fundamentals of Investing. As always, sky stay blue, stock screen. Peace out. God bless you guys.